Hi friends, it's Crystal at Emerson Aurora Design, and today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful rainbow alcohol ink tumbler with the hand-painted sunflowers. I was inspired by these rainbow eucalyptus tree bark that I saw online. I guess they grow in Hawaii, and they're absolutely gorgeous, and I wanted to reproduce that in a cup. So this is a 30-ounce modern curve from Stainless Steel Depot, and I'm just choosing various inks, alcohol inks that will go nicely together. I have um, kind of a teal one, purple, blue, pink, and kind of a watermelon color. I'm going to apply these on my tumbler. My tumbler is sanded and prepped and spray painted a flat white. I'm going to apply my inks just like I do for my wood grain, kind of going for a loose wood grain effect, but just really kind of loosely, honestly. I'm using this little chip brush that I have, and then I just put a line of my ink down in various spots. I kind of squish it around with my brush and then go up and down to get that wood grain look. This neon pink is an alcohol ink that I made myself. You can make your own alcohol inks. There's a trial and error to it, and if you're interested, I can show you how I make my own alcohol inks. So I'm just kind of putting the pink in different areas here, just kind of wherever it's pleasing to my eye. I'm starting off with my lighter colors first. This cup started out as an experiment because I'd never done rainbow alcoholic wood grain. And sometimes your best ideas come from experiments. This is watermelon from Tim Holtz. It's got a really pretty kind of a coral pink color to it. And I'm using the same chip brush that I just used my lighter color with. That's perfectly fine. For me anyway. If you don't want any contamination, you can use a different brush. But I use the same brush for lighter colors of ink and the same brush for my darker colors of ink. So I'm going to use a different chip brush for my darker 3 colors. So I'm just smooshing that around, doing my up and down motion here with my brush. And these type of tumblers are definitely a trust the process. If you're not happy with how dark the colors are coming out, like my light pink, my hot pink there is kind of light, but I'm going to go in later and touch all those up. Alcohol inks are such an easy medium to work with. They're so fun, and every time you use them, you almost get a different effect. So they're fun to play with. So I'm going in with this turquoise color. I'm not sure the name. It's by Tim Holtz. I'm just using this, my other chip brush I have here for my darker colors. I'm just going in and filling in the white areas in between the colors here. They will blend and mix just a little bit. It didn't blend as much as I thought they would, so I was happy with that. But on the edges, the pink and the blue, it'll make a purple, but that's perfectly fine because I'm going to use a purple tone also. This is sped up. I am actually not swiping this that fast, otherwise you'd get alcoholic spray everywhere. And I'm wearing a glove on my hand that is holding my tumbler because it never fails. I always get tattooed with my alcoholic splats whenever I do these. This is a fun tumbler to do if you have an order or a person that you're making a tumbler for that doesn't really want a ton of sparkle and glitter. But of course I am going to add just a touch of glitter to this in the end, and you'll see. But it's optional. I just can't. It hurts my heart to not use glitter, guys. Sorry if you're not a glitter lover, but I love glitter. So you'll see how I add my own little bling to this. It's subtle. Trust me, it's subtle. So it was at this point here that I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't working out the way I thought. Um, but I kept going. I'm going to keep filling in those white areas, and you'll see how I fix everything. It kind of was, I don't know, it wasn't what I had in my head, but like I said, this is a trust the process. And if you guys just keep layering and adding your alcohol inks, this turns out absolutely gorgeous in the end. So I'm going back in with my lighter colors, and I'm just going to add more layers of color to that to get a better blend between the dark colors and the light colors. And I wanted to add kind of a darker layer there. I don't know what I'm saying, guys. Anyway, sorry. And fill in the rest of the white spots. And it also helps those inks to kind of blend a little. There's something therapeutic about doing an alcohol ink tumbler with the wood grain. I just love taking the brush and swishing it back and forth and getting those wood grain lines. It's my therapy. The nice thing about doing alcohol ink is if you mess up, guys, just spray some rubbing alcohol, 91% isopropyl alcohol. Take a couple paper towels and just wipe it off. It comes right off. It's like a magic eraser for alcohol ink. And you can see how these are starting to blend a little better here with the lighter colors going over the darker. So go kind of slow. You don't want your ink to drip and run around and chase it around the tumbler, because that becomes a pain. Then you have to try to cover it up. But if it does, don't worry. Just add more ink and brush it through, and it will fix itself. And don't forget to do the bottom. I couldn't get myself doing the bottom in frame, so I kind of cut those parts out. But I'm starting to really like how this is turning out. Like I said, I had that moment of, oh no, Crystal, you made a mess. But it's starting to look cool now. It really does remind me of that eucalyptus, rainbow eucalyptus tree. I wish we could grow those in Indiana. I think they're gorgeous. What do you guys think? Think we can grow those in southern Indiana? Probably not. I don't have the best green thumb. All my plants are brown. I'll just paint my flowers and my plants on my tumblers. How about that? I hope you guys are having a great summer so far. It's so hot here. I'm sure it's hot where you guys are too. It is July. Oh, and speaking of July, I hope you all had a beautiful 4th of July and had lots of fun with your friends and family. I was able to go home. I'm from Michigan. I was able to go home and spend the weekend at the lake with my sister and my niece, and we had such a nice time. So now I'm going a little more subtly with my colors. I'm being real careful here and just going a little slower because I don't want my ink to drip and run everywhere. And you can see it kind of dripping on the bottom there. That's not a problem. I'm going to fix that in a minute, but it is out of frame, so I don't think I show it in this video. Just nice and easy here. This is where you don't want to go crazy with the brush. I'm just blending those in and getting all those white spots covered up. Now, some people like to seal their alcohol inks with spray or with a different medium. Here it is finished. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. But here's my problem. I sprayed this with my matte, oops, it fell off my thing. I sprayed this with my matte sealer, my clear matte sealer, and it kind of muddled my colors. I'll show you in a minute. But I did go ahead and epoxy it, and you can see there, as I'm turning it around, that's where that spray muddled my colors. I was really disappointed because at that time I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this tumbler, but then I thought, Eureka! Let's paint some sunflowers on this gorgeous cup, and we will camouflage those ugly spots. So there's my ugly spot. I'm going to take some white acrylic paint in my round paintbrush here, and I'm going to paint a silhouette in white of sunflowers. We're going to just cover that ugly spot right up. No problem, no worries, we can do this. So I start off with a little round spot in the center, and then I'm just going off from that, making kind of leaf shapes, pointed leaf shapes, and that's how I'm going to do my sunflower. Sunflowers are easy to paint. If you guys haven't painted them before, just do this. You know, painting flowers is just multiple shapes put together. You can do this, can't you? Just a pointed leaf shape. Beautiful. We'll go in later with our yellow acrylic paint once this is dry. I like to outline my flowers in white whenever I go over a bright colored base. You've seen that in other videos that I've done with my glittered bases. I just want the most opaque flower I can do without doing multiple layers. And this also gives me kind of an outline to do my flower with the color later. Because I know I'm doing sunflowers, I'm gonna be using yellow acrylic paint over this. I definitely wanted to outline my flowers in white because my yellow paint is a little bit see-through, a little bit transparent, and I know I would have had to add multiple layers of paint to get the look I was going for. And by doing this, I know that I will only have to do 1, maybe 2 layers of my yellow paint after. So I'm just mapping out where I want my flowers. I don't want to cover the complete beauty of the rainbow alcohol ink behind. It's going to just add to the gorgeousness of the flowers. There's no right or wrong way to paint a flower. I think daisies would look pretty on this too. I like daisies. Daisies are easy to paint. They're just a thinner line brush, almost in the same pattern as the sunflowers. Sunflowers just have chunkier flower petals. And I love doing half flowers at the top and bottom. I think that's just so cute. I do wrap my flower petals around the bottom. I don't know, it's just something extra that I think is so cute. I would definitely recreate this again. I think that this was really fun to make. I was happy with how it turned out in the end. This is one of those tumblers that after I epoxied over the alcohol ink, it sat for a week or two because I wasn't really sure what to do with it. But I'm on this hand-painted flower kick right now, as you guys know, because I'm just loving doing these, and I hope you enjoy my process. I'm going to let this white dry completely, and then I'm going to go in and do my yellow flowers. So my white flowers are all nice and dry, and I'm going to go in with 2 different shades of yellow. I have an Arteza Iridescent Yellow and a yellow matte, I don't know what it's called, goldenrod I think. I just wanted 2 slightly different shades of yellow to give my flower petals a little dimension. I know this is a bad angle for you guys to see, but I'm basically starting at the flower petals this time. Instead of going from the inside out, I'm going to start at the tip of each flower petal to get a really nice cover on those petals so I don't go crazy and go over. I don't know if that's making any sense, but whenever I start in the middle and go out, I kind of swoop out, and I didn't want to go past the white. And then I'll go in and kind of dab my brush in the center to get like a textured center on my flower. As far as the two colors, I'm just kind of dabbing my brush in the center between the two colors, trying to get a good mix um, on the petals so that there's a little bit of variegation on them. I ended up doing 2 layers of the yellow on my flowers. This one's just the base, and then I'll go back in. I don't think I show it because this video is getting a little long, but I am going to go back over and just touch up the petals and cover any spots that need to be touched up and add a little bit of the darker color on those petals to give the flowers depth. One thing I do want to add is if you guys make a mistake when you're painting, don't worry. I have epoxied my tumbler, so really it is an easy erase if you make a mistake with the acrylic paint. Just wash it off. Just wash it off with some soap and water before it dries, and you guys will have a blank slate again. Now if the paint already dries, you may have to take a fine grit sanding block and just kind of sand the actual paint off and then wash the cup and then start again. Just, take your time. If you make a mistake, wipe it off. If you don't like the way it looks, trust me guys, I have started and stopped multiple times doing these tumblers. Sometimes I have an idea in my head, and then once I let my paint dry for a few hours, I totally forget what I had in my head. So I'm going to let this dry, and I had already did my second coat of yellow on my tumblers. I'm going in with this pretty copper acrylic paint I'm going to do with the centers of my sunflowers, and I'm just taking a small brush and literally pouncing that paint on the center. It kind of gives a textured look to it. And I don't know, in my head these are sunflowers, maybe they're baby sunflowers. I know there's all different kinds of sunflowers, so we're gonna go with calling them sunflowers. I'm not schooled in all the names of flowers, and that's what they look like to me. So I'm just pouncing that paint around, and I'm actually going to add just a little bit of sparkle to this paint. I'm going to use the paint as my glue. So once I get all my paint on my centers of my flowers, I'm going to go in with some pretty glitter. Show that here to you in just a second. So that paint is still wet. I'm going to use Centaur from Glitter Chimp. It is like a holographic copper with a gold flash to it, I guess. And I'm just going to sprinkle those directly on the acrylic paint. It doesn't cover the paint completely because some of my paint did start to dry, and it's perfectly fine because it kind of added to that center of the flower effect. It's just a subtle little bit of glitter. We'll let that dry, and I go in and epoxy that. I did epoxy this 2 times, let that cure in between both. And now is time for my lines, my outlines. I'm using my trusty Xerox paint pen that I bought from Amazon. I'll leave that in the link below. Now this is where I kind of tried and retried my petals a couple times. I cut some of that out of this video because my video is getting too long and you guys don't need to see my bloopers, but the first couple petal outlines I ended up just taking some rubbing alcohol and scrubbing it off and then starting again because I wasn't sure how I wanted to outline my petals. But in the end I kind of went with this. So what I'm doing is I'm starting at the center on one petal, and I'm going up and around the point and kind of stopping before I get to the center of the next one. I know it's really hard to see here, but I'm essentially just outlining each individual petal. And this is not a straight line. I'm doing kind of my wonky scribble lines. I just think that those add some whimsy to my flowers, and it just makes it so much easier because my OCD brain does not like whenever I'm trying to make straight lines and they just don't come out straight. And then I'm going to go along just a little bit, leave a little sliver of line there. I don't know how to explain what I'm doing. I'm adding like a little ripple on the side, just on one side. You don't have to do this. It's just adding a little dimension. Can you tell what I'm doing? There you go. There's a little idea of what I'm doing. Leaving a little space and just drawing a little line up one side of each flower. You could do it on both sides. You don't have to. It's up to you. And now I'm going to do my center. Just a little squiggly line and a circle around the center, and a little squiggly circle in the squiggly circle. Say that 10 times fast. In the center of my flower. I didn't do leaves on this because I didn't want to cover up any more of my background. But you can add leaves. You can add whatever you want. You can add a little ladybug if you want. Once my lines are drawn, you don't have to seal your tumbler. This paint pen holds itself and it doesn't move around under epoxy, but you can if you want. I'm just going to go in, and I think I only put one more layer of epoxy to seal my tumbler, and it turned out beautiful since it doesn't have a lot of chunky glitter. In my final layer of epoxy, I did add just a teeny little pinch of my highly reflective nail glitter that I purchased on Amazon. I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. I love it as a glitter additive, just to add a very subtle sparkle, almost like pixie dust. That's what it reminds me of. It is like a micro fine glitter, basically. So I didn't show myself adding it to the epoxy because my main focus was on the alcohol inks and the painting, but I will leave it down below for you if you would like to purchase some. There she is. I'm not going to bore you with me drawing every single flower, but after my layer of epoxy, you can see that twinkle. Look at that little tiny sparkle that I put in there. And I love this tumbler. It started out kind of my arch nemesis, and it turned out one of my favorite tumblers. And it really didn't take very many layers of epoxy, which is nice. This makes this a very nice, light tumbler. You don't have all those layers of epoxy, and it is just stunning. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. Give me a big thumbs up and consider subscribing. You can add a comment or a question in the description box below, and I'll get back with you. Happy crafting!